He's got the thing on.
This is the Sports Porch, Philadelphia, with your hosts, the Grand Schwabini, Rube, and me, your technical director. Come on, Philly, show us a little Eagles, Flyers, Phillies, and Sixers love. The Philadelphia Sports Porch starts now.
We need pictures. We need pictures of us on that opening.
All right.
Okay.
I'll make some edits to it. You just got to let me get the intro in first. This is the Philadelphia Sports Porch. We're coming to you all over the world. We're coming to you live on Facebook, on YouTube, on X. And as you can see, if you're watching live down in the ticker, follow us on YouTube at Philadelphia Sports Porch and on X at Philly Porch. Hit that subscribe button, click the notification button. You'll know when we go live every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern time. And of course, we are a podcast, so we'd love for you to follow us and catch up there. Listen to us anytime you want. Follow the Sports Porch Philadelphia podcast on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, or anywhere you get
your bleeping podcast.
That's absolutely right. So what are we going to do here? Well, first, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm the technical director here in the studio. Across from me is the Grand Schwabini. Below me on the screen, if you're watching, is Rube, who is a lifelong Philly fan and the Grand Schwabini's best friend from high school, now living in Texas. How you doing, Rube? How's the weather down there?
Howdy. The weather was beautiful this weekend, and today, rainstorms.
Oh,
and it's good rainstorms. We need a lot of rain here in Texas, so it could rain for a month and we'd still be down. So we'll take it.
Well, you can have some of ours because I don't know if you heard about all the storms we had up here and the electricity going out. There's some people. It's 8 days later and people still have
generator.
I know.
Generator, best purchase I ever made.
Yeah. How well and up in Hampton, which is north of Pittsburgh. There are people up there that's still out of power 7 days later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And our block, our street was about 48 hours.
Yeah. That's what we were here. We were maybe 48 hours.
Yeah. So, but only 40 seconds for us.
Now, did your generator power the whole, do you have it just set up to power everything?
Well,
like life goes on.
Yeah, well, there's different kinds, like based on the strength that you get. So we got one that can cover the whole house.
Yeah.
We figured, hey, you're going to spend thousands of dollars. You might as well get it to cover the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's natural gas, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And no tuition costs for Grand Schwabini either.
No. I set that aside.
Yeah. Right down the tubes. Is that why you don't have a generator room? Because of the tuition?
100%.
Yeah, there you go. So, okay, send your kids to college or stream during a thunderstorm. I mean, I take stream during a thunderstorm.
You know what, though? It's pretty funny. As I have a lot of folks talking to me, clients about, losing their power. I say, like, getting a generator was one of the best purchases I ever made. And now they're all like, yeah, give me the guy's number. I want to look into that.
Yeah. Yeah, you get a little cut.
Nah.
I think you should. I think you should.
Nah, that's just me being a good citizen.
All right. Well, that's enough of that. So we're going to talk Philly sports today. We do it in pages because way back when the Grand Schwabini gave me pages and pages of notes. So page 1 tonight, we're going to talk about the Phillies. Seem to be having a little bit of a resurgence there. Page 2, we'll go into the Eagles. Big question. What would you do as a GM to ready the roster for the season? Then, of course, we do have the NHL lottery tonight. We're going to see after the show. 7:00.
Will
the Flyers get the number 1 pick?
Will they get the number 1 pick?
And of course, the Sixers. That lottery's coming up as well. Page 4, a twist that the Grand Schwabini threw in here.
Name one out there.
Name a outside of Philadelphia sports story. We'll get to what it is. We'll talk about something other than Philly sports.
Just saying, because it's the down period. You know, you get your Sixers, your Flyers aren't playing right now. Eagles off season. Just one thing, sports related, not about Philadelphia, that has you intrigued.
Okay. And then, of course, a little bit of what we're watching. We're going to help you get some time back and give you something good to watch or steer you clear of something you should not watch.
Indeed.
I do like Rube's choice this week. I think it's kind of funny.
Interesting.
That's what it's all about. And we want you to participate. We want your comments. We want to know what you think, whether you agree with us, disagree with us. It really doesn't matter to us, right?
Correct.
That's right. All right. Page 1, the Phils. They've won their third series in a row. They're 19-15. They're only 2.5 back of the Mets now. Take it away, guys. What do you guys think? I mean, Kyle Schwarber's having a pretty damn good year for Kyle Schwarber.
Schwarber's got 11 home runs.
Yeah.
Well, Rube, I guess what I'm going to say is that while the Phillies are playing better now, and the bottom line is they've kind of righted the ship enough to where I'm at the point where I feel like, okay, they're going to be in the playoff race, down to the end. But I also find myself just, constantly not satisfied. Like we April 18th, hits a home run, first 2 at bats, gets 2 hits, but then he makes an out in the 9th and the 10th. So like when we needed him to win the game, even our stars aren't always coming through. So I just find myself constantly frustrated by the team. Where you sit here, Rob?
Yeah, I didn't hear. I lost audio here for a minute, so I didn't hear your.
Ooh, sorry about that.
Didn't hear you, but I caught the gist of it, which is, God, you just want to love the team, but they find new ways to frustrate you every night, even when they're winning. And I think what you guys usually call that is Negadelphia. But it's 100% true, right? We Taiwan has a good first 4 innings pitching, looks like a totally different guy, takes a shot on, a line drive to the leg, gives up 4 runs, and before you know it, the game's over. So I just don't know what we're getting out of this team this year or what we're going to get. I don't know if Nola is going to look like the guy who pitched the last 2 games who looked fantastic, or the first, 5 or 6 games that he pitched and looked terrible. I don't know who on any given night is going to hit the ball, although Trey Turner is starting to hit pretty consistently. And then, he has an error, and that he's got to make up for it,
Right.
in some astounding way. So I agree. I don't know what we're getting from this team on any given night. And I know this, the way things look, the NL West is going to get all the wild card teams because they're still playing all outstanding ball. So
Yeah.
Well, I don't believe that though. The Phillies are actually in a wild card spot right now.
Yeah, but you're looking at, I mean, if you look at right now, the West, what Rube's talking about, the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Giants all have 22 or 23 wins. Their run differential, again, the stat that I focus on the most, it's over plus 30. You look at the Phillies,
right, but there's 3 wild cards.
I get it.
Those are 2, and then the Phillies are the 3rd.
Well, maybe not. I mean, you look at somebody like the Reds. The Reds are 18-17. Their run differential is plus 34. The Phillies at 19-15, their run differential is plus 8. So something's got to happen. They've got to shore up the bullpen, and they've got to start scoring a lot more runs than they're giving up. They're not that far below the Mets as far as runs scored. They're only 9 runs below them. But the Reds, they've scored, almost 20 more runs than the Phillies. So now, can that happen all season? I don't know. Did anybody think the Reds would be where they are now? No. And the NL Central is a weak division. So, your point is well taken. But I think Rube's, we're getting to the point now where you're starting to see the trends for the season play out. So they've got to do something about that bullpen. However, you do have a highlight that you wanted us to play.
Sure. Somebody who's picking up a little steam for the Phils.
Somebody who's picking up a little steam. So let's get that highlight working right now.
Fly ball, deep right center field. The Phillies are going to take the lead. Max Kepler, his 4th home run of the year. 2 solo shots in the 7th, and this place is jumping.
Yeah, hang and break it ball by Castillo. Just didn't get away where Moreno wanted it. And did Max look at the crisp percentage? And you'll think this team's into it?
Yep.
That is a blast by Max.
First thing I want to say is, what do you guys think about the City Connect uniforms for them?
I actually love them.
Do you?
I do.
Yeah.
But the thing is, so last year they came on the scene for the first time.
Right.
And I found it to be confusing.
Right.
Because nothing is, like the Phillies' normal colors, right?
Right.
And then I thought it was really funny that Kyle Schwarber said that they make them look like the best softball team on the planet.
Yeah.
Right. And for whatever reason, now I just kind of love them just because they're like totally different than anything that they have. But
isn't the thought process behind it is that like it connects you to the people of the city?
Well, there is that. It's just a little hard to make out. Like, so there's a hat and there's the Liberty Bell on the hat.
Yeah.
And inside the Liberty Bell is like City Hall and like, all the buildings and stuff really like that.
Teeny tiny.
Right. And there's like, on their hat, there's on the side, it says Philadelphia and it's got a thing of this, the city scene.
Right.
So, and then there's, I guess, putting Philly.
On the jersey. I get
right.
That. Okay.
Yeah.
I can see that. It's a little different than like out in Pittsburgh where it's really easy. Their uniforms.
It's like nothing different.
Well, it's just like gold with a black PGH on it.
Right.
Yeah, right. So,
yeah. So I like it. I say kudos to making it crazy.
There you go.
What do you say, Rube? What's your thoughts on that City Connect jersey?
And we'll leave it at that. So let's go back to Max Kepler here, turning it on there. Right now he is batting .295. That's his average away.
262. He's 262.
Thank you. 262. Yeah. So,
but he was like 220. Like 2
he's starting to.
Yeah.
So
he's turning up. He is heating up. Wait, what am I looking at here?
I mean, now, Rube, here's the thing. Now, I don't get to watch every game, but just from listening to Philly sports radio, I mean, it seems like it's obvious to everyone that Trey Turner should not be playing shortstop anymore.
Well, he's got four errors already this year.
I mean, I don't understand why they keep leaving him out there. And like even Trey Turner, like it's such a it's so frustrating. He's the definition of frustrating because on one hand, he's got the best average on the team. So you're like, okay, well, he's actually hitting for average. But then on the other hand, he's giving you like no pop at all. He's got 1 home run on the year. And he makes a ton of errors in the field. Like, to me, that's not a $300 million baseball player.
Right.
He's really not living up to his contract at all.
Could you say the same about Bryce Harper? All right. So Bryce Harper's hitting 234, 6 homers, but between him and Turner, that's $600 million of
mediocrity.
Yeah. Well, but at the same time, I mean, Bryce Harper's also won an MVP on the Phillies. You know what I mean? So he's already kind of earned us giving him some slack.
When does the slack go? Listen, I say every postseason he's worth every penny we pay him. However, at what point is he not?
Maybe now.
No,
I'm just trying to fill the time, boys.
No, I honestly think that he's going to be good for a really long time. I just think he does this every year. He gets into slumps, and then he'll take off at some point, and he'll hit like 10 home runs in a month, and all of a sudden the numbers will look really good.
So should we worry, switching gears? Should we worry about Ranger, or it first outing back? Give him some slack.
Actually, well, yeah, I think that number one, but number two, I think this is probably the key. So the Phillies need the bullpen help. Apparently, I believe the Cardinals aren't very good, and the Cardinals closer is really good. I think he had like 49 saves last year, something like that. That's a guy who I've heard they have interest in. And the question I have is, would you trade Ranger for a reliever? To me, it has to be number one. It has to be a right-handed reliever because we already have Alvarado and Strom from the left side. So it has to be a right-handed reliever and it has to be a guy who does nothing but close. There's no other role for them. I think I would trade Ranger simply because, you're going to have Painter coming up soon. And, Ranger's in the last year of his contract. How many pitchers? I mean, we've got Wheeler, Nola, Luzardo, and Sanchez, all paid to pretty big amounts of money. You can't pay 5 starting pitchers, top 3 starting pitcher money. As much as I love Ranger because he's got ice in his veins and he's done well in the playoffs for us, he's a guy that teams will be interested in. Like last year, he was leading the Cy Young voting at the All-Star break. So he's a guy that teams will have interest in giving up a good player for. And you have to give up something to get something. So
yeah.
That's kind of what I would do. Because, and if, and I basically say, you leave, Painter's untouchable. I think that, Aiden Miller's untouchable. I think Crawford is the guy that, if somebody needs an A+ prospect, he's the guy you got to give up, and then maybe you get something back.
It pains me to lose anything out of our outfield, to be honest with you, because I don't think this Rojas guy is the answer.
You know what's interesting though? Everybody still complains about him, and he's hitting over 300 now. Like he's actually playing pretty well. I mean, he makes great plays in the field, and he makes horrible mental errors in the field. So he has a little bit of both.
It's unbelievable to me that he's hitting over 300. I'm checking the numbers right here. Not that I don't believe you, but trust but verify. How is he hitting over 300?
I'm telling you.
Every time I see him up, he's not. He's missing a bunt.
He's been hot for like the last 2 weeks. I'm telling you. So look. I mean, I'll let Justin Crawford go if I can have a Rojas hitting like that, or and I still believe that they might be looking to do something like this down the road. If you notice, Mike Trout in Anaheim is having a bad year with the average, but he's still hitting the extra base hits. I think he's got like 9 home runs or something. At some point, if he continues to hit like in the low 200s, that might be a spot, Ranger, Justin Crawford for Mike Trout.
You really want Mike Trout in a Phillies uniform?
Why the
hell not, man? He's a right-handed power bat.
You need another guy hitting home runs, or do you need someone coming in? And I don't know. I think I would spend my draft capital on someone younger and a right arm reliever. To your point, I don't see any upside in Trout. I don't think we need him.
You just think he's too damaged at this point?
I think he's hurt. He's played on too many losing teams. He's past his prime. And do we really need another guy that hits for power? Right? Haven't we been talking since the season ended that we need guys to come in here and hit base hits? Not a 200 hitter who strikes out a lot.
Yeah, and when you look at, again, the offense versus the pitching, and right now the Mets, they're the team to beat in the East right now. They've only given up 112 runs. I mean, that is far below. The closest is the Braves. They've given up 141, and the Phillies are next in line in the East at 151, again at a +8. I think, the bullpen is where you need your help. I don't think you need your help with hitting.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we went from being the number one bullpen in baseball to like almost dead last right now.
Yeah, I don't know if
And
it's dead
yeah,
last, but it's
it's
not as bad as
close.
the
It's close.
Pirates.
Well, well, actually, it was interesting before yesterday when they had another implosion. They had something like 18 scoreless innings in a row. So they were actually doing pretty well for like a couple games there. But then, what happened yesterday is just that's the problem. You don't have enough arms. I mean, you had to have Alvarado come out and pitch a second inning when he shouldn't have.
And everybody knows that too. It's no secret that he's a one-inning guy. So what do you do?
Right.
What do you do? Hey, so going back to Trey Turner,
Yeah.
you don't. If you don't play him at short, what do you play him? Is he a DH, or do you put him in the outfield? And isn't he a similar
You
liability
think?
in the outfield?
Well, I think you put him in left or center. Well, here's the thing. We know he's fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he should be able to catch up to fly balls. And what's really his issue? I mean, his issue is, too much time thinking about a throw and throwing it away. Not handling the easy ground ball. I mean, I just think in the outfield. I mean, look, it's incredibly hard. For us, it would be incredibly hard, but for a Major League Baseball player, there's a huge difference between a ground ball that gets to the outfield and a ground ball that's on top of you in 2 seconds.
Right.
You
would think.
think anyway.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But and he has actually played some outfield before. He's played some center field and some left field. But and what everybody seems to say on the radio is that, they told him when he was coming here, he's going to be the shortstop, and they don't want to go back on that. All this kind of crap that, the Eagles don't do, but the Phillies seem to do, which is, the Eagles just make decisions based on what's going to help us win.
Adjust. The Phillies
Right.
are just not adjusting. They look like, not to be a broken record, they look like the team from the second half of last year.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Just barely over 500.
Yeah.
Well, the positive to take out of this is the last 3 series against the Cubs, leading the Central, against the Nationals, kind of a middling team, 6 games out, the 3.5 below you guys, and the Diamondbacks, taking 2 out of 3 from each one of those. I mean, that's trending in the right direction. And it's a long season, 34 games in. You got to win more series than you lose to make the playoffs. And prior to that, they had lost 5 in a row. So, you gotta look at that and say it takes time. Baseball is a hot and cold game.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to hope that, most of the team is on the warmer side going into July and August to kind of get that push. So,
but I mean, I think that the reality though with this year is that this year there needs to be significant trade deadline deals. We're not going to get by with, sort of a what would you call it? Like a very nothing type deadline deal. Like, you're not going to bring in Austin Hayes.
That's why I put this comment up from Steve. Go get Mason Miller from the A's.
I agree. The only problem is
the A's have the same record as the Phillies right now.
That's the only problem.
Yeah.
So
but they probably
lose.
They probably won't come trade deadline.
Maybe not.
They probably won't.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. Of course, the Orioles are in the basement. Nobody saw that coming.
Don't they have a good reliever too?
Bautista, but it's a classic Baltimore problem. They develop their younger players. They hit well. They play good defense, but they just can't sort out their pitching. They just can't sort it out. They've given up a ton of runs. But I don't think the A's are. I mean, is that a possibility? Who knows? But would that be good? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That would that. And I agree with you in principle right now. But I still say we're a long way off from that. So, sometimes teams need to just get it together, and I think right now the Phillies are in a spot with their bullpen where they need to get it together. I mean, I'm stating the obvious. But if, come trade deadline time, if the bullpen isn't faring any better and everything else is status quo, then they're going to be right around the same spot. And yeah, it can't be just we'll make a trade to make a trade. It's got to be a significant piece to whatever the weakness is, which is probably going to be the bullpen.
So let me see if I got this right.
Yeah, let's do this.
You're saying that the key to the season is they need to get it together.
Yes. Isn't that the key to every season?
Problem solved.
There it is.
Get it together, boys.
You're not gonna get analytics like that on any other podcast.
You will not. You will not.
I'm telling you.
You just get the straight out, flat out truth.
That's
here.
exactly right. I mean, is it not?
It is the truth.
100%.
It is the truth.
The Hitman Lips on YouTube says this draft lotto will go really good or really bad. In Danny, we trust. Trey Turner's a bum.
Yes, he is.
Hey, man, hit that subscribe button and the notifications. Thanks for the comment on YouTube.
Breaking news as we move to page 2, the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah. Holy cow. I didn't know that. Page 2.
Allows us to have a moment to feel good.
Page 2. Let's talk about the Eagles.
Now, before we get into my question, as you can see here, I'm very proudly wearing this Thank You BG shirt, which is really cool. And today is, we'll give them a shout out because I think they did a really nice job with it. WIP Sports Radio in Philadelphia, with it being May 5th, 5/5, number 55. They called it BG Appreciation Day.
Nice.
And they had everybody calling in from Brian Dawkins to Doug Peterson to just about anybody.
Sirianni, I was listening to that on the way home.
Yep. So, just a great dude. We did give him his props talking about his retirement already on the show.
Yeah.
But, what a guy, persevered, didn't have it that easy to begin with, but just put his head down, worked, became a really good player, and very just thankful for what he gave the city.
Okay, let's move on.
That seemed cold.
Well, I mean, he's retired. Let's move on to the next Super Bowl.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Will do.
There you go.
Will do.
And everybody thinks you're pitching shirts now.
Just send your check to the Grand Schwalbini.
There you go. For $55 for BG.
Aren't you 55 now, Grand Schwalbini?
Yeah.
I'm 55.
There it is.
I am 55. Yeah, and it's my birthday. Well, my birthday year.
And it's my birthday. Every year you have a birthday.
But it's my 55 birthday year.
Yeah. So and at least you don't have children that forget about your birthday. That's good.
That's true. Good.
Just trying to get a little therapy.
Yes.
What would you do as a GM to ready the roster for the season? I mean,
so it's basically what I'm throwing out here, and Rube, you can start us off here.
I thought that's what the draft was for.
Well, no, the draft is not everything. We're always continually adding to the roster.
Yeah.
Okay. In fact, some folks were invited to the rookie tryout camp, and one wide receiver from Washington impressed and is now an undrafted free agent. And one of the running backs who was invited to camp is no more. So this is a living, breathing document that keeps on being adjusted.
Okay.
So now, and really with that, though, the other thing I wanted to point out is that every year Howie Roseman usually makes an interesting signing or two sometime after the draft. And remember, it's also easier to sign players after the draft, because if you sign them after the draft, you don't have to give up compensatory picks.
Right.
Okay.
And isn't June 1st like the deadline where you have to either pay or not pay or something like that? Usually it's after June 1st.
Yeah, like a roster bonus or something.
Yeah. That's why, teams will try to trade players, and if they can't trade them, they'll cut them at that point.
Okay.
So what are you getting out here?
So there's a number of different reasons why the roster can adjust. And what my question is, Rube, is obviously we lost players, we added players with the draft. Now you've got maybe a few more moves that you can make. What are you looking to do to ready the Eagles for the 2025-2026 season?
Well, I think you got to make a decision on who your tight end's going to be, right? I'm kind of stating the obvious because Dallas Goedert's been on everyone's mind, and in about every sports show has spoken about what are they going to do with him. And to me, listen, I think they're a better team with him in the lineup. He just needs to stay healthy. But it sounds like from everything we've heard that Howie is going to make a move on Goddard. So let's assume they make a move on Goddard and he is no longer an Eagle come June or after June or whatever the magic date is. I think you got to go. I think you got to go get something better than Calcaterra. And let's assume that the two guys, the tight ends we picked up in the off season, who no one's ever heard of really, aren't going to be that guy. Who do we go and get? I'm not quite sure what the answer is, but I think that's going to be an interesting thing to come. And then I think the other thing that I would do is I think I would go get this Justin Simmons guy who's clearly stated he wants to be an Eagle, and can fit in nicely in a young safety room. So I think those would be the two big things that I would go look out.
Well, I completely agree with you. It's like we're speaking the same. Like you're finishing my sentences.
You complete me.
Yeah. So I would sign Justin Simmons. He played for years in Vic Fangio's defense, so he doesn't even need to learn the defense. And also, I think it's just a good guy to have there, like, just in case, Andrew Makuba isn't all we hope he is, right?
Hey, you said his name right. Good job.
There we go. By the way, I hear he's also going by Drew now. Like you don't call him Andrew, you call him Drew Makuba.
Next time I see him, I'm going to call him Drew.
Nice. That'll get you, a little more personal touch and flavor.
Yeah.
But
flavor?
I don't know. So anyway, yeah. So, but here's the thing. I don't know that they're going to do that though, because if they were, like, why didn't they do that last year? I mean, it really was the same thing last year. He was on the board for a long period of time after the draft, and said he wanted to play for the Eagles.
Maybe cheaper this year.
Maybe.
What I love is ESPN comes out with their post draft, season rankings, and I want to know how it is that the Chiefs are ranked number 1 and the Eagles are ranked number 2.
Because they probably believe in Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, but I mean, the Eagles literally kicked the shit out of them in the Super Bowl.
They did.
And they're saying that their most improved position is wide receiver. And maybe it is. And the most improved position for the Eagles is linebacker. And maybe it is. But where do you get off putting the Chiefs at number 1? I mean, I am being completely objective in this. If I was going to rank, I would put the Eagles at number 2 or
Eagles
at number 1.
Eagles lost a lot of starters, man.
I know. Well, they lost Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham retired, Darius Slay,
Milton Williams. They lost half the defense.
The other thing too is let's face it. And I'm not just saying this because we're Eagles fans, but the media loves to hate the Eagles.
That's true.
They really do. I mean,
even the Eagles media loves to hate.
Right.
The Eagles.
I heard this guy, naming, like, his whole thing was he was like naming quarterbacks he would take over Jalen Hurts. Right. So, like, who are some of the people he took? Like Dak Prescott. Oh, really? Like, what's Dak Prescott won?
Yeah.
Okay, just because he's led the league in touchdown passes one year.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He's won a lot of regular season games.
Right. Another one, he said Justin Herbert he'd rather have.
Absolutely not.
Okay,
I totally disagree.
Let me put it this way, like, let's see, it's like 4, 7, 8, 9. So Jalen Hurts has played 9 playoff games. Mm-hmm. In 9 playoff games, he's had 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert has played 1 playoff game and has 4 interceptions.
Right.
So what is the logic in that he would be a better fit?
Well, it's
ridiculous.
That argument is ridiculous. The Dak Prescott, I mean, it boils down to how does he perform in high pressure situations? I mean, we know football's a team game. It's not an individual sport. So if you're looking purely at career stats and the regular season, well, Dak Prescott's had a little bit more time, and yeah, he's put up some impressive seasons. But when push comes to shove, after those impressive seasons, then, that's
folds every time.
Right. That's when the leaders emerge. And
I would also.
Would I rather have Patrick Mahomes than Jalen Hurts?
Sure.
I don't know. I don't know. I would put them.
You could buy that.
I would. Yes, I could buy.
I think I would take that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not saying that Mahomes is not. I'm not saying that Hurts is on equal footing with Mahomes as far as talent and accomplishments. But what I'm saying is that, Hurts lost a Super Bowl, and then he came back, and 2 years later, he went back and he beat the guy that beat him in the Super Bowl. And there's a lot to be said for being a leader of a team and doing that. There's a lot of intangibles there. So as far as that's concerned, yes, I would take Mahomes in a pinch over Hurts because he seems to be able to make something out of nothing a lot more.
Right.
I mean, but other than that, I don't know. Would you take Josh Allen over Jalen Hurts?
I think you get a very similar quarterback.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's a tough question. I mean, you like to say the answer on that one is based on talent, yes, but based on results, no.
He's lost some games.
Yeah, he that's the thing. I mean, based on talent, yes, he's a more talented quarterback than Jalen Hurts.
Let's play this out. Let's play this out. This is fun. Let's play this out.
Okay. All right.
So number 4 was the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff. No question there. Lamar Jackson.
That's another one. I would say no, because I think that Lamar Jackson has the same problem that every time he's in an important playoff game, he shits the bed.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. This is going to be tough. Jaden Daniels.
Well, I think it's too early.
It's 1 year, right?
It's too early to make that call. I would say no right now because Jaden Daniels has to do it for more than 1 year.
Yep.
But
is it Jaden Daniels on the current Eagles roster? So is it just trading quarterbacks? Same rest of your roster? Because listen, I think most of these quarterbacks we're talking about would do pretty well behind a pretty good offensive line. And handing the ball to Saquon Barkley. So
that's exactly what the Commanders did. They beefed up their offensive line for that very reason. So I would agree with you that if Jaden Daniels ends up being the quarterback consistently that he was last year, then it's going to be a tough call.
Yeah. Then that's a question.
Yeah. Matt Stafford on the Rams. Nothing.
I mean, I'd say no. Maybe in his prime. But,
possibly.
I think he's a little bit past that.
We'll just do the top 10. Jordan Love on the Packers.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, the Vikings aren't even worth consideration because it's JD. Joe Burrow.
That's another one where, is Joe Burrow a better pure passer than Jalen Hurts? Yes.
He can run too.
Not really.
Yeah,
not a lot.
He can scramble. He can get out of trouble. He can extend plays.
He can extend plays. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But he arguably has 2 better wide receivers than the Eagles do.
This is true. Yeah.
But not much better. Not much better though.
Better. I mean, but not. I mean, okay. So is Jamar Chase?
Would you trade them?
Yes, but not.
Would you trade those 2 for the 2 we have now?
Yes, I would.
Wow. I would actually say no. I wouldn't, because I sort of feel like you got Jamar Chase here. He's the top. Yeah. But I think AJ is not that far below him. And I would put Devontae above T. Higgins.
Really?
Yeah. So I'd rather have 2 and 3 versus 1 and 4.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Well, that was fun. So what else would you guys do
the one other thing I was going to bring up to Rube here is that there's one potential trade candidate that could bring a pretty significant tight end into Philadelphia, and that's this guy Michael Mayer of previously of Notre Dame, who plays for the Raiders. And of course, last year the Raiders took that tight end that Bowers, and he just was so dominant that they barely even used Mayer. So I think with Mayer, you have like a first round talent level tight end who just sort of by bad luck of the draw had a better player on the field at the same position, didn't really get the touches.
But why did they find the need to draft another tight end? Just because he was a generational talent, maybe?
Yeah, I think that's why. So, the bottom line is if you're them, right, they don't need anybody else besides Bowers, right? So, you could probably get him for like a 3rd round pick, maybe something like that.
Can he block? I know he can catch. Can he block?
I think he can block too. Yeah.
So do you really think they're going to cut Goddard?
No, I don't think they're going to cut Goddard, and I think there's a chance that Goddard is still on the team. The other thing is a lot of this. It does sound like every time Howie Roseman talks about Goddard, it sounds like he's not going to be back, but that also just could be like leveraging.
Could be smoke.
It could just be like, playing a game of chicken. Who's gonna bail first, and take the deal.
Yeah. I mean, I understand, from the standpoint that Goddard does, it's tough for him to stay on the field. That's really the only issue with him.
And that's, and the other thing, then that's why I wouldn't take Dak Prescott either. Guy can't stay on the field.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, that's very true.
Hey, how about one late breaking trade? We don't even have to trade. We can just go pick him up off the heap. Justin Tucker is your kicker. He just got released.
Yeah. Why would you want to do that?
Why would you want to take a dreg of society onto the team?
I'm just raising it. I'm just being provocative.
Yeah. I mean,
provocative.
I don't know if you guys saw. I don't know if you saw the news.
Yeah, we did. We saw it right before the show.
Wasn't the current kicker number 1 on your most important Eagles list?
Yeah. Yeah. No, he was not number 1. Jalen Hurts was number 1. Let's be clear.
Okay.
He was number 2.
Okay.
And he did set the Super Bowl record for points in a Super Bowl.
And when push came to shove,
what's his name again?
Absolutely Jake Elliott money.
Yeah. There you go. So I don't think the Eagles need a kicker. I just don't think they need to do that. Okay, let's move to page 3. This is the Sports Porch Philadelphia. If you're watching us live, you're watching either on Facebook or on YouTube or on X. On X, we are at Philly Porch, and on YouTube, we're at Philadelphia Sports Porch. Go ahead and subscribe there. Hit the notifications button. You can see when we go live, which is usually every single Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. And you can subscribe to the podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. Page 3 is kind of a mashup here. The Flyers and the Sixers. It's draft time. I'll put the Flyers logo up there. I think we have more hope for them now than we do the Sixers. But so at 7:00, the NHL does the lottery to see who gets the number 1 pick.
Right.
Let's address that first.
Well, unfortunately, it doesn't really totally matter. It's not like there's a Mario Lemieux or a Wayne Gretzky or a Sidney Crosby or anybody like that in this draft. So it doesn't really matter. But I would say if you get a top 3 pick, that's you're going to get your pick pretty much of who you think is ultimately the best in the draft, right?
And probably a lot closer to NHL ready.
Right.
Hockey Jesus says the Flyers are going to get a good pick, a great pick if it's top 3.
Right. Now, I think where they sit right now is it would be number 5 if they don't move.
Right. And the Hitman Lips. I love that.
Yeah.
I'd crap my pants if the Flyers get 2 or 1.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means though. Like Schwabini said, I don't, if we get a 1 or 2, is it going to be that much different than 5? And or could we package one of our 11 picks and move up?
Yeah, we could also do that, and I also think that there's a good chance that the Flyers might be trading some of their wealth of picks for some established veterans to try to take a run at trying to win next year. Because I think everybody is a little bit tired of losing and playing the rebuilding game now at this point.
Yeah.
And I think they need they need a goaltender. Apparently they got a really good Russian, but he's still like a couple years away. So we're going to need somebody as a holdover, because Sam Ersson to me he's like a decent 2. I don't think he's a number 1. And the other 2 Russian kids, I don't really believe in them. Do you?
No, not from what I saw this year.
Yeah, but I did see, and Hockey Jesus would be excited about this. Hockey Jesus obviously brands himself as knowing quite a bit about talent evaluation at the NHL level.
Right.
And 2 years ago, I think he was telling me that Tyson Forster is going to be, a lot to handle. And Forster was put on Team Canada for this Team Canada tournament coming up, you know.
Yeah.
So it was Forster and Konechny and Sandheimer on the team.
Yep. And I did hear today that Marc-Andre Fleury is not quite retired.
Not quite done. He's going to play some international hockey.
Yeah.
At the barn.
Yeah. So Sixers.
Let's hope we get the number 1 pick.
There you go. Is that all we're going to talk about
Cooper
there?
Flag.
I mean,
Cooper Flag or bust.
Yeah.
We're gonna end up with Trey Johnson or Derek Queen, the kid from Maryland, and I wouldn't terribly mind either one of those guys.
I think the guy who they're projecting to be second is supposed to be pretty darn good too, but I can't remember who that was.
Dylan Harper, the guy from Rutgers.
Yeah.
Is he related to Ron Harper?
I have no idea. I
think Ron Harper's kid played for Rutgers at one point, but 19 points a game, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 33% 3-point shooter. Not bad. But it looks like everyone's projecting Trey Johnson, the shooting guard from Texas, to be the guy, and he can score. I just don't know. I don't know where he fits and if he makes us a better team.
Well, as the offseason goes along, I'm sure things will become more intriguing because you've got the Embiid issue, you've got Paul George here, you've got the whole, the whole thing. Bless you, Rube.
God bless you.
The whole thing blew up this year. I mean, literally, their trust the process, it exploded in their face, and it ends up it wasn't really a process for anything.
But if you really think about it, don't you always, no matter what the situation is, don't you always have to trust the process?
I mean, yeah, I guess
you do.
I don't know,
because what else are you doing if you're not trusting the process?
Well,
I mean Howie Roseman trusts the process and it goes pretty darn well.
Yeah, well, I think what it is you have to have an actual process in
the process
place.
Has to be good.
Yeah, it has to be a good.
You have to have someone to execute the process.
That's
right.
Yeah, whatever the hell.
I think we can all agree that Daryl Morey has outstayed his welcome here.
Yes.
Yeah,
and I would really like to move on from him.
We'll of course keep paying attention to that. Page 4. Here's something that the Grand Schwabini threw in a little twist. Name one outside of Philadelphia sports story you're intrigued by. I'll give you mine. Can I give you mine?
You sure can.
Okay. The Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pittsburgh Pirates.
All right, who's next? Next.
Because we're doing a stupid pirate show.
No.
Why?
Well, listen, you have to think about it's outside of Philadelphia. It's sports. This team has hit a new low. If you're not from the Pittsburgh area, you probably haven't heard of all the missteps this year that are just not even related directly to baseball. Like when they built the stadium, you could buy a commemorative brick and put your family's name or whatever you wanted down so people would walk over it as they walk into PNC Park. They ripped all those bricks up, threw them in a heap in a recycling place, and pissed the fan base off. There was the 21-foot sign out in right field that was dedicated to Roberto Clemente, arguably one of the greatest baseball players of all time. And they went ahead and they removed the 21 sign and put up a sign of a boozy drink that happened to be from Philadelphia. And all the fans got pissed off. Opening day.
They're really bad.
Opening day, the fans, opening day on the television, you could hear the fans in the crowd screaming in unison, "Sell the team. Sell the team." They hate the owner to the point where the television channel turned down the crowd noise. So if you were watching TV, you couldn't hear it. A fan launched himself over the 21 sign, fell 21 feet just a week ago, and is still in critical condition, may or may not live. It is, and I haven't even talked about baseball. I haven't even talked about baseball.
Right.
Okay. They suck. The organization is at a generational low. They are the second or third most profitable team in the major leagues as far as net income goes. They signed absolutely nobody, and they supposedly drafted the next Cy Young himself in Paul Skeens, who did have a very bad game a couple games ago against the Cubs, but his first extremely bad game, 1 inning, he gave up 3 solo homers, and they won't put anything around him. So that's very intriguing to me, because this is a legendary franchise that has like 5 or 6 World Series titles to its name. It's been around for 120 years. And
well, you're right.
I'm watching it.
Well, they are rock bottom. They are sort of like the Dan Snyder of Major League Baseball. Pretty close. Yeah, pretty close.
Bob,
I mean,
he's
not sexually harassing anybody or anything like that. But
he's a total jackass.
Outside of that, he's just a total jerk and a loser.
Yeah, absolutely.
I never would have guessed that they won the World Series 5 times.
I think
the problem is the last one was 1979.
Yeah, right. that is the problem. You guys talk about your stories. I'll look up how many Pirates World Series here.
They're 5. It was 5.
What I got?
5? Okay.
What I got for you, Rube and TD, is has anybody noticed that Aaron Judge is hitting 423?
Yeah. Wow.
I hadn't noticed that. No.
He's hitting 423, and like the next closest guy, I think, is hitting 350. I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah. And what's even crazier, I saw this stat the other day, and I didn't commit it to memory here, but Aaron Judge won the MVP last year, and they did a thing on well, what was his batting average, then versus 28 games last year, whatever it is. And this year he's hitting 423, and last year he was hitting 179 at this point.
Yeah, well, he got off to a horrible start.
He got off to a horrible start.
Well, is it gonna reverse itself? I mean, who knows? Probably.
Yeah, but I mean that's crazy though. I mean, this is when you start looking at it and you're like, I remember. Do you remember the year, Rube, where Lenny Dykstra was flirting with 400 around the All-Star break?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and Chipper Jones, same thing.
Yeah, it's so improbable to do it.
Yeah.
But wow, he's hitting 423. It's insane.
Yeah, the next closest guy happens to be one of his teammates, Paul Goldschmidt, of all people, 349. Then you have Pete Alonso, 344. Brendan Donovan on St. Louis, 339, happens to be on my fantasy team, and then Jacob Wilson. But it's intriguing. Absolutely. I look at the guy and I just think to myself, I'm sorry, I can't help it. Performance enhancing drugs. I mean, he looks.
No, he's just a big dude,
right? Well, that's what.
Well,
if we'd have said that about Barry Bonds,
no. Let me put it to you this way.
Right?
Has Aaron Judge always looked like this?
As far as I know,
yes. Now Barry Bonds looked much different.
Plus,
the first 5-6 years.
Test for that. I don't think he would put himself at risk of the Yankees.
I'm not. Yeah. I don't think
that
so
was
either.
just mean spirited.
Absolutely, because I hate the Yankees.
I see that.
I hate the Yankees.
I see that.
So yeah, he's got
Steve. The Flitch says 5 World Series for the Pirates.
Yeah, and it is 5.
But doesn't Steve know that it's only 1 because nothing counts before 1970?
Yeah, no, that's the.
Well, then there's 2. Then there's 2.
I have to defend him on that one. It's always. Do you know why it's called the World Series? Here's an interesting fact that I learned.
Okay. Do tell.
Do you you don't know why it's called why do you think it's called the World Series?
Because it's a competition amongst all the best baseball teams in the world.
Right. Okay. Rube. That's obviously not the correct answer.
Okay.
I don't know. Do tell.
Okay.
First one took place at Wally World.
Yes. Then it would be called the Wally World Series. No.
It was a series that was played at the World's Fair.
No, but that's an excellent guess, Rube. Thank you for taking my question seriously.
Okay.
There was a newspaper called the World News, and they sponsored the first few World Series, and they called it the World Series, and the newspaper went defunct, and they just kept the name.
Nice.
Believe it or not.
Good.
There you go.
So like when the Eagles win the Super Bowl, that we say we're world champions. Are we really champions of the world?
Well, since nobody else, that was where the question arose, because people were like, how are they the world champions in baseball? Because they play baseball in Japan,
right?
They play baseball in Canada. They play baseball in Korea,
Latin America.
They play baseball in Latin America. They, how can they be the world champions, or it'd be called the World Series, when they're not playing these other teams? And
wouldn't it be cool though, is if they did like Premier League soccer or the European soccer teams, they have like a club cup. It would be neat to see, like, if last year who won.
Well, they do that. They had that like 2 years ago.
No, but that's when they take an all-star team of MLB players and they play against other countries. I'm saying take the team who won the World Series, the 2 teams in the World Series, and they play in a Champions League against champions Japan or Latin America, whatever. But I digress. So what's Rube looking at outside of Philadelphia sports?
Yeah.
I watched a really good hockey game last night. And like I've said many times, I'd watch the Stanley Cup playoffs if my team was in it, 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. I had the opportunity to pick between watching the Winnipeg Jets pull an improbable, score 2 goals in the last 2 minutes and win it in double overtime, versus watching Steph Curry play the Houston Rockets, who I don't know anybody who's on their damn team. And let me tell you, it was super entertaining. And I think Winnipeg, now that this Hellebuck guy has got his confidence back, look out. I can't believe St. Louis took him to 7, but that's a little one for you, HJ. I really found myself rooting for the Winnipeg Jets last night.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If we're comparing and contrasting professional sports leagues, if I'm going to jump on a bandwagon and become a fan of something right now, I'm choosing hockey. I've watched probably, in all honesty, a total of about maybe 20 minutes of the playoffs, but I happened to catch the Dallas Stars overtime win in game 2 of their series, and then last night's Winnipeg Jets win. And for that 20 minutes, I haven't been more riveted to, something since the Super Bowl. And the last thing I want to do is honestly go watch playoff basketball and guys just try to drain moonball threes for an hour and a half. I mean, hockey is just, to me, hockey is like one of the few remaining natural sports, meaning like, you got to lay it all out on the ice. There's not, like, you can tinker with the plays in football. It's demanding. It's like a car wreck every play. Baseball analytics are destroying the game. I mean, that's one of the big arguments against the Pirates. What's going on with their manager?
Although there's one key problem with hockey, which is unfortunate because I really like hockey too, but I still put it as my 4th favorite sport. And the big problem with hockey is the fucking luck factor.
Yeah.
I mean, like that game winning goal. I mean, I sat and I watched 2 overtimes of great hockey, and it was exciting. And then when they won it, it was because it hit a guy in the stomach and it ricocheted to the side. And, it was like, okay, so basically you weren't even trying to score. You were just like, all right, let's throw it at the net because that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah,
and
but the Nets, it's not like the Nets. But
but that's how all overtime goals. It's usually not a great play. It's usually just a bad bounce.
Like, did you see
the better teams usually end up winning in hockey?
Usually. I mean, like, did you see the Dallas one where that Mikko Rantanen had the natural hat trick in the third period?
HJ is going to correct you on that. It actually wasn't a natural hat trick because there was a goal in between.
Oh, was there? Okay, okay.
But I'm going to let HJ correct you on the next show.
Okay. Well, usually you think when it's in the same period.
It's got to be 3 goals in a row.
Why is HJ? I gave him some hockey love. And he's saying Winnipeg's going to get swept by Dallas. I say no, HJ. I say I am the biggest Winnipeg Jets fan there is this postseason. And we're going to talk about them every week.
Well, maybe what we got to do is we got to put a little money on the line. HJ just walked into our studio here. So are you listening to this?
Dallas is tough.
Yeah.
I mean, like that second Mikko Rantanen goal was just like, okay, I'm going to do a wraparound. I actually didn't have enough on it, but it hit a skate and went in. That's the only thing that's wrong with hockey.
Okay.
Is the luck factor.
All right, so good topics there. Let's move on to the last topic of the evening here on the Philadelphia Sports Porch, all over the world live. If you haven't already, please follow us or hit the subscribe button on YouTube and the notifications button, and follow us on Twitter at Philly Porch. And you can also follow us at Philadelphia Sports Porch on YouTube. We do have a Facebook page. We got to get a few more followers up there and a little more activity, and then we'll be live on the Philadelphia Sports Porch Facebook page. Let's move on here. Now, Schwaber, I need you to introduce this. This is called What We're Watching.
What We're Watching, this segment, it's for you. It's for the fans. It's for our audience. And we feel your pain. We know it's hard to find a good show to watch, and we want to be there to help you through it. And so what we do is we do all that surfing. We figure out what show to watch on what streaming channel, and we watch them for you. And even if we don't like it, we watch it till the end so we can be sure about what we're saying. And we're going to either tell you if it's good, and now we've saved you the time. You just go home. You just say to your wife, your girlfriend, your partner, whoever, you just say, hey, guys at the Sports Porch said to watch this one, said it's a winner. And there you go. Now you're a winner. Okay. And if it's bad, we'll tell you, don't watch that. Guys from the Sports Porch said no go.
All right. We're going to give Rube first chance at this. Rube is currently watching something. I believe this is on Peacock.
It's on Prime. On Prime.
And,
I think that's where I watched it.
I thought I saw it on Peacock, but whatever.
It's on the cock.
It's on the cock.
Yeah, it's on the cock.
Conclave. Go ahead, Rube. Tell us about it.
Conclave. So, very timely movie, and I know this won many Oscars. So, it just happens to be that in Conclave, the Pope has died, and it tells the story. And Ralph Fiennes plays kind of the manager, if you will, who's got to manage the conclave and brings all the other cardinals in from around the world. And it's super interesting. And there's some really good actors in it. John Lithgow's in it. You can see that on the picture. Stanley Tucci on the right. So really well acted. Didn't realize how political the voting is and how that happens. And I found that incredibly intriguing for some reason as a Jewish guy. I never thought much about the conclave.
That's kind of why I. It's like, I mean,
I saw where you were going with that, TD. Don't worry.
What do you not realize about the Catholic Church? I mean, come on.
So it didn't hit so it was very good, and I won't give it away, but the ending actually was it was good, and I saw it coming a mile away, but what I didn't see coming was one of their a secret at the end. So there's a little tease for those of you who haven't seen Conclave. Very well acted, very good movie. Check it out. It's an Oscar nominee.
So, in other words, you did not realize that the Catholic Church has I mean, come on. Well, actually, they don't have any secrets.
It would be actually. I do.
They're kind of like the Boy Scouts.
I did hear this got really good reviews, and so I'm going to watch it at some point. Yeah,
check it out.
All right. The Grand Schwabini, you are watching something that I think my wife is interested in watching, actually, or she might have started. It is
Bad Sisters on Apple TV Plus.
I like that.
So I recently just
Isn't
finished
that a website?
No. I recently just finished the second season. And by the way, if you're looking at our picture on TV, do you see the brunette all the way to the right?
Mm-hmm.
That is Bono's daughter. If you didn't know. Yeah, she's an actress.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's kind of like a dark humor type of show.
Well, it's really dark for the girl with the eye patch.
Yeah, she's pretty cool though in it.
Yeah, I know, but
semi dark.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to those of ours who are visually challenged.
Well, they can't see it anyway.
You're being really mean to a very
small group of people.
Wonderful group of people.
Grand Schwabini, please continue.
Yeah. So anyway, Bad Sisters, the one in the middle there, the one who's wearing white, she's married to this guy who I have to tell you plays the biggest jerk of all jerks on the planet. Like when you're watching this show, her husband, like you absolutely hate him. You think he's just a horrible human being. And of course, all the sisters have thought about getting rid of him.
Of course.
And I'll just leave it at that. But there's a lot of twists and turns, and it's really good. So if you like shows like that, watch it. Grand Schwabini says 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs
and
up.
There you have it.
You don't watch shows anymore?
You watch shows.
You just don't want to do multiple.
It's hard for me to do multiple shows now. It's hard. I have a job.
Oh.
All right. You've been watching the Philadelphia Sports Porch. Yes, all over the world on Facebook, YouTube, and X. And, of course, I'm going to drop the podcast right after the show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. And we'll see you next week at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Remember to subscribe to our channel at Philadelphia Sports Porch on YouTube and X at Philly Porch. For the Grand Schwabini, for Rube, I'm your technical director. That's our show. I'm out.